Hi, everyone. Just letting people in. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
One by one. Great. All right. All right. So I just let everyone in who is in the waiting room, but we're waiting for a few others. So we might just wait a minute or so, but great to see some faces. If you're up for it, I'd love to encourage you to turn on your videos, there's a little button in the bottom left corner, and I'll go into some of these details in a moment, but it's always just so great to see everyone's faces. Oh,
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. All right. Well, I will kick things off. We may have some more people joining in the next few minutes, but we'll get started since all of you were wonderfully on time. This is great. I'm going to mute everyone just for the time being. So muting all, but I'll unmute Brian. Great. Okay, so welcome everyone. It's so wonderful to have you here. These virtual workshops, this is our fourth one that we've done this summer, our fourth and final one. So you've all made it in to the last one we're doing, and we've been having so much fun with these. So I'm just so excited that you all were interested in this topic and that you could make the time to join in, because I know it's a big commitment to commit 2.5 hours of your time. So we are just so grateful for that. So thank you. I want to introduce myself and Brian, who is next to me this way on my grid, which I'll explain in a minute. If you can't see a grid view, I'll explain a little bit about the tools we're using. So my name is Ariel. I am the community strategist on the Buffer team. And basically, I do all of the things that you might see if you're involved in the Buffer community. So I organize Buffer Chat, which is our weekly Twitter chat. I organize the Slack community that you're now all a part of. It's this amazing group of people from all over the world who share advice around social media and marketing and work culture, since we're into that at Buffer also. And it's just a really great community of people. So now you're all part of that, which is wonderful. And I also organize events and workshops like these. And I'm based in Philadelphia. If you don't know, the whole Buffer team is distributed all over the world. We all work remotely. So I'm in my house at the moment. And yeah, so I want to introduce Brian quickly, and then I'll keep chatting. But quickly, Brian, do you want to say hello?
Yes, would love to. Thanks, Ariel. Like you mentioned, my name is Brian Peters. I work in the digital marketing kind of area here at Buffer. So I do social media, video, podcasts, all the digital marketing stuff we do. So today's gonna be super fun, and I just want to say thank you all for joining us. We're gonna be covering social media strategy from start to finish, but I'll pass it back to Ariel, and I'll get more into that in just a sec.
Amazing. I just should mention one thing. Ooh, someone just joined. Let them in. So you might know Buffer. I think most of you have known about it or maybe are a user. Just to explain, just in case you're a little bit newer to Buffer, we are a multi-product platform basically to help you with all your social media needs. So you can use Buffer to publish and schedule posts to social media and analyze how you're doing on social. We also have a product called Reply, which is all about engaging with your audience and your customers online. So if you want to know more about Buffer, Brian will show a few examples of our strategy and some behind the scenes things. But if you want to learn more about Buffer itself, we're always happy to talk about that. But we won't be talking about that too much. We're going to be deep into the strategy in this workshop. So I want to explain a little bit about this format, since it's a little bit different than what you might have experienced if you've joined in for webinars before. So this is going to be interactive. There's going to be some parts where Brian is just presenting and sharing information. He'll be sharing his screen, and you can see all these behind the scenes things that he'll be showing you. We're also going to have some time for you to take all of those learnings from Brian and apply them directly to your own strategy. Because we don't want to just throw out information at you and then have you leave and be like, what just happened? That doesn't connect at all to my strategy. And, and then you go off with your day and you didn't get to apply the learning. So we want you to actively have that time to take what you've learned and say, how does that actually apply to my brand or my company or what we're doing on social? Because Brian's going to throw a lot at you, and it might not all apply to what you're doing. So we want you to think about it for yourself. So we'll give you some reflection time, and I'll be sharing a worksheet. I sent it all in the email that I sent a couple days ago, but I'll also share it in Slack just in case you don't have that worksheet. And then we'll also have some time for you to meet each other, because there's something really special about getting together at an in-person event. There's something really special about being together in a room. And that's how we're thinking about this workshop. Even though we're all over the world and in the different countries and continents right now, we want you to, take advantage of coming together, at the same time all together. So we want you to meet each other, and we'll give you a bit of time to do that as well. So yeah, that's what will happen in the next few hours. And I just want to share a little bit more about the tools we're using, just in case they're new to you, because I think sometimes we use these tools at Buffer, things like Zoom, what we're using now, and Slack, because we're a remote team, but we understand that not everyone has gotten to use these before, so we want to make sure they're not too confusing. So what we're going to do with Slack, which is the chat tool that you're all in, is we're going to kind of go there a few different times throughout the workshop for some interactive activities. And also it's a great place to go if you are experiencing any sort of like technical issue, or if you have a question for Brian or I, and we're in the middle of talking like right now, you can just send us a message in Slack, either privately to us, which you can do on the left sidebar. There's like an area that says direct messages, so you can search for our name and send us a direct message, or you can post in the Buffer Workshops channel publicly if you feel comfortable asking a question there. So we'll see that. We'll kind of, when Brian's talking, I'll look in Slack, and when I'm talking, Brian will look. And let's see. Okay, so that's Slack in a nutshell. So this is Zoom, what we're using. Just want to share a few helpful things about Zoom. So there's two ways that you can see everyone, or one person at a time. So if you go to the top right corner of Zoom, there's something that you'll either see, it will say speaker view, or it will look like a little grid, like little boxes. And if you click on that, you can, if you click on the little grid one, you'll see us in kind of Brady Bunch style, which is how I'm seeing it right now. So you kind of, see all of our faces at once, which is a really fun way to do it. There's going to be moments where Brian is just sharing his screen, so you won't be able to see everyone's faces. But in moments like this, where we're just talking as a group, it's very fun just to see everyone. But you can always toggle back to speaker view, where you just see kind of one person's face. Then in the bottom left corner of Zoom, there's a few things there. You'll see there's a mute or an unmute button. So there'll be moments where we'll ask anyone to share something, and you can just unmute there. There's also a video stop or start little button. So I see most of you have video on, which is wonderful. We definitely encourage you to have it on, because we're basically trying to simulate what it would be like to be together in person, even though we can't be in every single city. So we would love to see your faces if you feel comfortable. Of course, we understand that, you might be in your office, you might be at work, you might be home with kids, wherever you are. We understand that sometimes it's hard to have video on. So we encourage you to leave it on if you can. But of course, if you need to turn it off, if you need to talk to someone, if someone's asking you a question, feel free to turn it off and then just turn it back on when you're ready. Same thing with if you need to, this is informal. If you need to head to the bathroom or take a break, just feel free to turn your video off and head out, and then you can come right back in when you are ready. So let's see. If your internet goes out, no worries at all. Just come back into the same link, and I will let you in back into this Zoom. So, no worries if that happens. Definitely are used to that at the Buffer team with the internet not working. Another thing that we really we really care about at Buffer is working smarter, not harder. If we have these 10 Buffer values we like to talk a lot about, and that's one of them, working smarter, not harder. So we really want this to be a meaningful time for you. If you want it to be a little bit more passive and just sort of sit back, that works too. But we'd love if you're up for it to be really focused and intentional about the next couple hours. And so things like, I know it's really scary to say, but if you want to turn off your notifications, or maybe turn your phone off, or close some tabs on your screen, things like that, that would be wonderful. So you can stay focused in what we're doing. So I think those are all the logistical things I wanted to mention. Yeah, cool. And again, if you have any questions, feel free just to, one more thing actually in Zoom. There's a really cool chat tool in Zoom also. So you can use Slack for chatting if that works, or you can also chat in Zoom. So if you go to the bottom, let's see, just the bottom of your screen, if you don't see it, there's a little thing that has 3 dots and says more. And if you click on that, there's a little thing that says chat. And that will open up a chat tool on the side. So you can ask questions in there. Maybe while Brian's talking, you can ask some questions that come to mind, and then he'll respond to them later on. Things like that. Some of our workshops we've done, people have actively used the chat tool. Some groups of folks haven't. So it's really up to you if you want to chat. Yeah. Oh, and then one more thing. If you want to use these, and if you click on, also at the bottom of Zoom, there's something that says participants, I think. And if you click that, that will open up something right above the chat tool on the side. And there's some fun little buttons you can use if you want to respond to things that Brian or I are saying throughout this workshop. But if we're not, if it's not a time to speak up, let's say, if Brian's talking, you can kind of click the little green check mark for yes, just to agree with what he's saying, or the X for no. You can tell him to go slower, go faster. There's also a thumbs up, thumbs down. Can you see all these things that I'm talking about? Give me a thumbs up if you can see them. Cool. Okay. And we can also do this. This is a great way to demonstrate that you're listening. Cool. I see people are chatting already. That's wonderful. So, right. That's what we're going to do today. That's all of it in a nutshell. It's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot. Get ready to learn a ton. So, yeah, we're really excited. Before we get started, I would love to hear from all of you really quickly, just because it's such a cool experience to have folks from all over the world. I know we have some folks from London, Brazil, all over the US. Someone's here from Australia, although I think their sound is off because it's quite late at night. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves, which is in the bottom left corner, and just shout out where you are in the world, we would love to hear it.
Hey, Courtney from New Jersey.
Welcome.
Hey, Katie,
Welcome.
I'm in Boston.
Awesome. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Tim from Germany.
Welcome.
Brian, I'm also from Germany.
Oh, new friend.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm in London.
Awesome.
Hi, Abby.
Hey, Gabriel.
You first, Gabriel.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, from São Paulo, Brazil. Hello, everybody.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Tina. I'm currently living in Amsterdam.
Nice.
Love Amsterdam.
And I'm from Dallas. Gabriel, I'm going to Brazil next week.
Awesome. Where are you coming? São Paulo?
You'll have to meet up.
I was going to say, looks like we have new friends. Yeah.
That's a great way to use
Awesome.
Slack too. Is just that you can kind of follow up conversations after this workshop and
Sure.
meet up. Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Adriano from Germany. Somehow my cam doesn't work yet. I don't know. I try to fix that.
Oh, yeah. That's okay. We understand that those things happen, but we can definitely still hear you, which is good.
Hi, I am Heather. My video camera isn't working either, but I'm Heather. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Nice to meet you, Heather.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Hi, I'm Georgina. I'm English, but I live in Madrid, and here I am.
Awesome. And here you are.
A bit awkward, I'm not going to lie. And I don't know how to make my camera go on the big screen, so.
That's okay. We can definitely still see you and hear you. And we were just in Madrid on our team retreat.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Whereabouts?
In Madrid.
We were like central Madrid by a hotel, the big hotel with like the lights and like in the market. It was right in the central part.
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which way. It sounds great.
We clearly weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share where they are?
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Here, look, I'm on the.
Oh,
Hello.
I see Kim with someone else behind her.
Yes, Mike Shaw and Mary Kay Elkins, all three of us are here at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Love it.
That's great.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I am in Portland, Oregon.
Awesome.
Great.
We have folks from all over today.
Yeah, maybe any last minute shout outs before we move on?
Oh, I'm Julie. I'm just outside Toronto, Ontario.
So cool.
Hi, hey folks, I'm Tom and I'm from Edinburgh in the UK.
Awesome.
Great. I think we have at least 5 continents represented right now. I don't know if we have anyone from Africa today, but wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you all for sharing, and this is just such a cool experience to be with all of you. So welcome, and without further ado, I'm going to kick things off to Brian.
Awesome. Yes, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. This is our biggest group yet, so it should be fun and exciting, and it sounds like you're all a lively bunch, which I love because our last group was somewhat quiet, and we'll be breaking down into groups and having some fun. So thank you all for making this an enjoyable experience for the rest of us too. Okay, cool. Yeah, like Ariel said, the chat is awesome for you to ask questions. I'm happy to, I would like to save those if we could for the breaks and then also to the end. So if you want to drop some chat questions on the right-hand side, that's awesome. And then if anybody wants to jump in and answer those questions or help to answer those questions, I think Ariel and I are both resources, but you all are great resources as well, and you all have experience in social media and things that have worked and things that didn't work. So if you have anything like that can help to answer a question in the right side, that'd be awesome. So without further ado, I think we'll kick things off, and we're going to start with a poll, and I'm going to share my screen really quick just so everybody gets a feel for what that will look like. I'll show the slide, and then we'll share a poll really quick. And basically, the poll's going to pop up, and when you answer it, hit submit, and then it's going to disappear, but don't worry, it will come back with the results. So anyways, going to share my screen now. This is kind of what it will look like. So I'm looking at our agenda for the workshop. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the presentation. Cool. And let me know if this isn't showing up for anybody, or if the sound stops working. Ariel, that'd be great if you could help out there. Cool. So Buffer Workshop today is August 8th, 2017, and social media strategy for a team of 1. We're really excited because this presentation has really morphed over the last few workshops. The first one was I guess like our first shot at an online workshop, and we got a ton of great feedback from everybody who participated. We then morphed the presentation, and then this is the 4th iteration of that. So hopefully this will be the best one yet. We've definitely made it more detailed than the first, so you're in for hopefully a lot of great information that you can walk away with today. So okay, cool. So let's start off with a quick poll. We want to know what your biggest social media challenge is. Now I'm going to
Oh, can anyone hear me?
jump out of that. So what's your biggest social media challenge? And this is all here. And we always like to run this poll at the beginning of workshops just to see where everybody is and kind of give everybody a feel for the challenges that you're facing, because I think a lot of times as social media marketers or as entrepreneurs or as business owners or as people who social media is just a small part of their job, I think we get stuck on an island sometimes and feels quite lonely out on the social media island. Like, am I experiencing the same things? How come I can't find success? Or how come I see everybody else finding success? And I think that's what you'll hopefully find from this workshop, is that you're definitely not alone, and that you're probably doing a great job and you just don't know it yet. So we have 21 of 24. I think we'll wait another probably 10 seconds or so and then end the poll. I can see the preliminary results coming in now, and looking pretty in line of what people usually say about social media marketing.
I have a quick question. Where is this poll? Because I don't have anywhere on my screen to click on to chat.
Oh, weird. There should have been a pop-up, but it's no big deal. I don't think I can send it again. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, it's fine. I didn't know if I was missing something, because on the right-hand side I can raise my hand, but like I don't see anything else. Well, I mean, I see the PowerPoint presentation, but I don't see anything I can type in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sorry about that. This is the only poll
No
we're
worries.
doing.
All right, no worries.
Sorry about that. So yeah, I just ended the poll, so I'm going to share the results with all of you.
Cool, and we're back. I think everybody should be back in non-share screen mode. So finding time to dedicate to social media, the number one challenge faced by all, well, I mean, it's number 6. I mean, it was voted 27% of you. The number one challenge is finding time to dedicate to social media, with a second of generating leads. That one always pops to the top. And we'll definitely talk about ways you can generate leads for your business. And we'll cover advertising. I'll get into it in a second. And, driving traffic to whether it's your blog or like ebooks or your lead magnets. So number 1, finding time to dedicate. Number 2, generating leads. 3, planning and scheduling content. Absolutely. And then driving traffic to your website. And I think those kind of go hand in hand with like the generating lead sort of thing. And then identifying the right target audience and defining ROI and measurement. So we're going to cover all that today. We nailed it. Last time it was a couple something else's, which is always tough to cover. Cool. So I'm going to stop sharing the poll. And I'm going to go ahead and kick off the presentation. So basically what we're going to do is go through the first couple of sections. And then after that, take a quick break, jump into breakout groups. But Ariel will cover all that when we get to the point. But for now, I will share my screen. All right. So like I said, we ran a state of social media report back in the beginning of 2016. And the number one thing was driving traffic to our website for a challenge for social media marketers. Second was generating leads, defining ROI and measurement. So it seems like you all resonated with these challenges. And it's something that we at Buffer struggle with tremendously here daily. I mean, organic reach is declining, as you all know very well. There's more content than ever. I think I heard a stat the other day that like 2.5 million blog posts are published every single day to the web. So standing out is harder than ever. I don't even know what the numbers are for Facebook. There's a chart I saw one time where there's like 600 million photos are shared to Facebook every like 10 minutes or something like that. So the amount of content online is absolutely incredible. So driving traffic to your website, generating leads, defining ROI measurement, and then finding time to dedicate to social media are all becoming harder and harder to do, as scary as it is to say. But hopefully after this presentation and after this workshop and after chatting with your peers here, you'll have some takeaways and strategies that you can walk home with. And that's our number one goal for today. So here's what we're going to cover to help you get there. Number 1 is determine your brand on social media. So I capitalized brand and I put it in parentheses because I think, and the reason we start with this is because it's the number one thing. It's the most important thing that you can do on social media. And I'll get into that in just a second. Pick the right sidekicks for the job, AKA tools. So what are the tools you're using to help you as a team of one? So the people who said finding time to dedicate, well, the tools that you use can help you be productive in a shorter amount of time. It's just all about the practice it takes to get to there. And then number 3 and 4 are probably like the quote unquote meatiest part of the presentation. My favorite part to talk about, the creation and curation. Because at the end of the day, social media is all about the content you're putting there. So the creation and the curation part are huge, obviously, if you want to have success on social media. And then number 5, getting comfortable with social analytics and ROI, understanding the theory behind social media advertising. So this is like sort of a beginner's. We're not going to dive into Facebook and AdWords, but we are going to talk about advertising theories and strategies that you can start with. And then last but not least, we'll close it out with some experiments or just a way to think about social media moving forward, how you can stand out and how you can find success. So lots to cover, and let's get started. But first, I always love to share this chart because it kind of gives an idea. People ask me, I think one of the questions I get most is like, what platforms are you on, Buffer? How often are you sharing? What are you doing on social media? And I always show this chart because it's indicative of where your followers are. And when you hear the words, be where your audience is, well, this is where your audience is. The numbers don't lie. I mean, Facebook has just reached 2 billion monthly active users, which is insane. YouTube, no one talks that much about YouTube, but YouTube has 1 billion monthly active users. Instagram just hit 700 million. I think Stories is even up to like 200 million monthly active users. So Instagram, obviously a powerhouse. Twitter's still hanging in there. And then Snapchat actually measures by daily active users. So it's actually probably, if you were to look at the monthly usage, it's probably a little higher than Twitter, but I didn't want to, I don't know, guess incorrectly there. Then of course you have like Reddit, Pinterest, Tumblr, LinkedIn, and then your, the rest of the social media platforms. But this is where your audience is. And so if you're thinking like, I don't have time for social media, well, what we'll talk about is not being everywhere at once. And this is a great place to start, because if you're going to choose one platform, and your, standard business where your average age is anywhere from 21 to 60 years old, Facebook is obviously one of the best platforms to do it. So the other thing is that I wanted to share with you actions that make people unfollow brands on social media. So obviously a lot of times we talk about, how do I get more followers? How do I get people to follow me? Well, one of the things we don't talk about a lot is, well, why do people unfollow me on social media? And I think this is a good thing to remember as we go throughout the presentation, is like, we've moved in social media from a time of just post a ton of content and people will see it, to a time where it's like, it's definitely, and I know this is kind of a cheesy line you hear all the time, but it's quality over quantity. And that has never been more true than it is today. So, the number one reason, too many promotional messages. Well, no one's ever going to tell you that you're sharing too much good content. So a lot of the times, even 1 or 2 messages from a brand could mean too many promotional messages in the eyes of your users. So that's important to remember as you're creating and sharing content. We're definitely in a time of quality over quantity, which we'll talk about more in just a sec. But first, let's get into the heart of the presentation, and that's determining your brand on social media. So the first thing I like to do is ask you a fairly simple and straightforward question, but it has a lot to unpack in it. And that's, why would people follow your brand or you on social media? So why would people follow you or your brand on social media? Can you answer that? Can you give me a good answer to that? And if I were to look at your content online and take away all logos, could I tell your content apart from your peers, from your competitors, and from everything else that's online on social media? So go back to the top there. That is your value proposition. It's the why behind people. It's the why behind people would follow you on social media. So think about that for a second, because it's on the worksheet. It's something I'm going to keep going back to. Can you give me an answer to that? So I want to give you an example, so we're not just floating out there in the meta land of why. Let's try to bring it back into some actual examples. So here at Buffer, when I first started in social media about a year and a half ago with Buffer, it was kind of like the strategy here was kind of like, yeah, we share teammate stuff and we have like some fun stuff on social media marketing, but we didn't really like have thought process that went into all posts that we put out there. So we started with what we call the Buffer value proposition. In the upper left-hand side, you can see, sure, we provide unique social media and marketing insights. A lot of brands do that. Hootsuite, Sprout Social, Agora, Pulse. I mean, there's a 100, you can go right now and find 100 million articles on social media and marketing. But Buffer takes a unique human approach to it, so that's a good start. Okay, and then on social media, if you look to the bottom left, or to the left, respond to all comments within 3 hours. Now we're getting somewhere, because if you interact with Buffer on social media, which I'm sure many of you have if you're part of this workshop, or even if you haven't, we always respond to every single comment on social media. Ariel is in Slack pretty much all day. She'll respond to every comment. So we provide a unique experience. And then if you keep going around the circle, we're 100% transparent publicly about all things Buffer. Well, now we're starting to get into some things that might be interesting to people. So we talk about our revenue. You can go online right now and see how much Ariel and I make in salary. You can go online and see how much Buffer makes annually. You can see our diversity dashboard, how our team's broken up. So that's a huge difference than what a lot of other startups are doing online. And that helps to set us apart as well. So that's stuff we can talk about on social media. Then if you keep going around, human-centric, people and community at the center. We're definitely not afraid to show like our human faces. You've probably seen my face on Instagram stories if you follow us on Instagram. We're definitely not afraid to show the people behind the brand at Buffer. Then we're education and usefulness first, not sales. So you'll rarely see us ask for a sale. Like, it's even weird for us to talk about Buffer in this presentation sometimes. Like, I don't know, it's just, so we're education and usefulness first. And then last but not least, we partner with top influencers and brands online. So that, that's something that a lot of other people do, but it's just, if you take all of these together, this is what helps determine the Buffer brand online. And then from here, so imagine 100 little bubbles going each way, you have 100 different content types that you can create around these little bubbles. So create a little bubble graph of your own. It's kind of fun, and it'll help you to determine why people would follow you on social media. And you might discover, oh, we do have something unique, and then you have more content opportunities. Or you might discover, wow, like, and I'm not saying this specifically about anybody here, but wow, we might not be as unique as we thought we were. Time to work on that. And that's a good thing. It's good to be honest with yourselves. So now if we're talking about actual content, I like to show this slide only because people are curious about how often we share to social media nowadays. This used to be a lot more. I posted a post on our Buffer blog in the last month or so about how we basically cut our posting frequency in half, and it resulted in an increase in organic reach and engagement. So I'll share that post with you if you're curious in the Slack channel. But this used to be a lot more. And now we've cut it down, and we've really forced ourselves to focus on quality over quantity. And you'll be surprised by doing so. If you just simply cut out the number of times you post per day, it forces you to pick only the best, because you're like, whoa, instead of having 3 time slots, I'll now only have 1. So what am I going to do with that 1 post? And it kind of like tricks your mind a little bit, but here's a little example of what we do. A lot of people, I say Instagram stories 8 to 16 minimum. What I mean there is just 8 to 16 slides twice per week. So if you're strapped for time, if you want to be on Instagram stories, post 2 days a week, do eight or so. And I'll show you how to make some really cool graphics and stuff with Canva and Adobe later. But yeah, 8 to 16 minimum per week, same with Snapchat. And you can see the rest there. So you can see at the bottom there, experimentation with timing and frequency is critical. It took us a long time to get to a point where we're like, okay, we have a good idea of how often we should share to get the biggest impact. I mean, I've gone all over the spectrum of posting frequencies. So step number 2. So once you have an idea of the why of social media, you have an idea of, how often you're going to post, it's time to pick some tools for the job. And here's a quick overview. And I used to just show the slide and move on. But what I want to do, instead of showing you the slide, I want to show you the actual tools in action. So Buffer Reply are my go-to for scheduling and responding to our community. And I think you'll also, really quickly, I forgot about this one, but when you're determining the why on social media, it definitely helps to write it down. And so you can see here, this is the tool Dropbox Paper we use a lot. And this is a good segue into tools because it's Dropbox Paper. It's one of my favorites, but this is for collaborating with teammates on ideas. You can see 47 teammates have actually viewed this doc and you can edit it. But when you're determining the why, we have, our story, brand identity, taglines, brand purpose, brand pillars. I mean, there's so much that goes into determining the why. It helps to write it down in something like Evernote or Paper Docs or Google Drive or whatever that may be. But I just wanted to show you this to know that that bubble graph came from here. We have a narrative, target demographic, all that stuff. So this is Dropbox Paper, and this is an example of our brand identity going back to the why on social media. It was actually a fun little segue there. So here's Buffer in action. I'm sure you've all seen this before, but this is where the hub happens. And a lot of times I like to say Buffer is the end to a means. So social media, all the magic basically happens in the engagement and the creation side of things. Buffer is just my favorite platform, and obviously I work there, to schedule the stuff that I've created outside of Buffer. So basically you can see we have all the social media profiles that we have along here. There's a great little scheduling feature where you can set your posting schedule, talking about frequency and consistency. We integrate with Instagram, which is one of my favorite. So basically, here's Buffer overview. We have analytics, and that's Buffer in a nutshell. I'm happy to go into that later if anybody wants to check that out. And then also Reply, and this has actually become one of my favorite tools. So we created this product essentially. Well, we bought it and then redid it. And essentially this allows you to respond to all your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter messages and comments in one dashboard with your team. So it's super cool. It's called Buffer Reply. And you can see here I have an Instagram and Facebook folder set up. So I can quickly go in and respond to Instagram comments from the dashboard. I can close it out. I can assign it to a team member. Super cool. And then it has all my essentially comments on Facebook and Instagram here. So that's Buffer Reply and Buffer. I'm going to close these out as I go because I know we have a ton. Now, when you're planning and scheduling social media content, here's a really, really cool tool. And I know a few of you are struggling with this, is Trello. And I know Asana is another one of these tools you can use. But Trello essentially is a tracking dashboard that allows you to track ideas from start to finish. So here's our podcast editorial, the Science of Social Media podcast. This is a Buffer podcast that my co-host Haley and I and colleague Haley manage. So essentially we have all of the guests we're pitching, all of our episode ideas, all of the ones we're set to record and interview. And then you can see it goes to the right here, top performers, past episodes. So I like using Trello for social media ideas too. So maybe you have campaign ideas you put over here in ideas. And then maybe you have like social media experiments, social media results, past experience. You could see how like just being organized in social media and all the campaigns and ideas. You might also have, I guess, upcoming product launches or upcoming events or holidays here. I heard a couple of people mention they worked at Wake Forest. I actually was a university marketer myself. And so you might have like graduation ideas. And then if you click on these, it's cool because you can see all the times that we collaborated back and forth. You can attach files. So absolutely check out Trello. And if you're already familiar with Trello, try using it out for tracking ideas. I also wanted to quickly show you Canva for content creation. I'm actually going to put this over here into the creation section, but Canva is my absolute favorite tool for creating graphics. You can see all the graphics I've created for social media over the last like year and a half. This goes on for days, but Canva is great. It's free. I'm actually in the free account right now. Saves all your designs. It's amazing. I also wanted to point a video making tool out to you that's really come on the scene over the last year. One of my favorites called Animoto. So Animoto, really, really cool tool for creating video. And one thing you might have known for all you savvy social media marketers out there, that Square Video is actually huge nowadays because of the space it takes up on mobile screens and the importance of mobile. So Animoto actually lets you create Square videos right within the dashboard. It is a paid product, but it is one of my favorites, and they did not pay me to say that. I truly believe in the product. And last but not least, Excel spreadsheets. I'm actually going to take this and move it to the end, but I wanted to show you, this is where I track all of my social media results. So we have social blog, open blog, and then we use what we call a waterfall graph, and we'll actually share a post with you in Slack about how to make this waterfall graph and how you can track all your analytics. So I'm actually going to move that down to here. And let's see, I think, and the last thing I want to show you was like just an Adobe product. I'm going to show you an example later in the creation part, but this is Adobe After Effects, and this is how I create all of the motion graphics you might have seen on our Instagram stories account. So another one of my favorite tools. Yeah, so that's the tools. Those are the sidekicks. Live them, love them. Best thing ever for social media teams of one, because they really do help, and they really do help create great content. I just want to see, Ariel, how are we doing on time?
We're good. We have a few more minutes for this section, but if you need to go over, that's cool too.
Perfect. Okay, sweet. Yeah, this one, sweet. So step 3, practice the art of creation. So you have your why. You're like, I'm feeling good about the why. I know why people are going to follow me. And you created your brand identity. You created your value proposition. You have 100 little bubbles around the outside of content ideas. Now it's time to actually practice the art of creation. And this is one of two of the most important, actually I'd say one of three of the most important social media: creation, curation, engagement. But first, a little tiny joke, because I love this joke. We all started somewhere with design. I thought Ariana Grande was a font. True story. Maybe not a true story, but I still love the joke. All of this to say is that we all start somewhere with design. I was seriously a terrible video marketer. I didn't even know what a color palette was. Pretty much basic designer. But then I started to realize that creation is a lot like learning an instrument. So what do I mean by that? So when I can't see your smiling faces now, but some of you might be musicians or guitarists or aspiring musicians or even dancers or whatever they may be. When you're first learning a craft, like an instrument, you don't just pick up the guitar and start like playing B.B. King perfectly, right? What you do is you pick up the guitar and you learn some chords by B.B. King. You might learn a solo from another guitarist. You might learn bits and pieces from songs everywhere. And then that helps to compile information in your brain. And then over time, you start to remember, oh, I remember that chord. And then you play the chord, and then you mix it with another chord, and you mix it with a solo, and all of a sudden you have your own unique composition, right? So that's what creation in social media is like. If you're not sure where to start with good content, look outward. Look to your peers, look to your competitors, look to your friends, look to people who aren't even in your industry, and take little bits and pieces from what they're doing and apply it to your own social media. So I literally probably spend half of my actual creation time on social media looking at other brands. I'm not even creating. I'm like going for inspiration. So I'm going to show you some really cool ways you can find that content later, but just wanted to give this metaphor for anybody who's struggling to create good content or isn't sure where to start. So there's a ton of different content types and ideas. And again, we used to just show this slide, but I'm actually going to show you some quick examples because I think they're super pertinent to this workshop. But essentially you have like these, 7 types. You have GIFs, videos, photos, graphics, emojis, memes, and hashtags. Like that is your social media sphere of content. And you can do unlimited things within this. But let's go back, and I want to relate this to the presentation a bit more than I did in previous workshops. I want to give some examples. So, I think where I want to start with this is that I know a lot of people have a tough time generating leads and driving traffic to their website. So like I said in the beginning of this presentation, we live in a time where there's more content and more social media posts, blogs, posts, videos than ever before. It's mind-boggling. Like I'm overwhelmed when I go onto social media. So we're in a time now where and this has been going on for a long time, but the quality bar is higher than ever. And so what does that mean for your content? So if you spend some time creating a blog post or an ebook or a lead magnet for your leads, a webinar, whatever that may be, you have to now create 5 different ways to promote that because there's so much content online. So you have to take your content, whatever your hub of content is, and you have to stretch it as far as it can possibly go, because if you don't, then it's just going to get lost in the clutter, and it's not going to be easy to promote that stuff. So I want to give you an example of that. So last week, we published a day in the life of a social media manager, how to spend time on social media. I will drop this in Slack for you all in just a sec. But essentially, I wrote this post about a day in the life of a social media manager, and it might be interesting, especially for this presentation. But I didn't just stop with the post, right? So I actually created a graphic down here at the bottom, which I thought in the back of my mind, this is going to be great for Facebook because Facebook is very visual. It's going to be great for Pinterest because Pinterest is very visual. So here we are. So last week I actually published the blog post, as you can see here, just a typical link, right? It did okay, 56 likes, 1 share. I mean, that's definitely not going to be like, oh, we really did it on social media. So that was the first. Then in the back of my mind, I knew I had more content coming for that post. So then a couple days later, I shared the graphic. Now this is more like it, 495 likes, 142 shares. So if I would have stopped at just posting the link on social media, this post would have basically done nothing, or would have gone flat, right? But I had this post, and then I took that and I created a video out of well, that's another example, but I took that and I created a video out of the post. So I did a day in the life of social media manager, 3 high impact strategies and tasks. So you take that piece of content, you now have a video, you now have a graphic. I also shared it to Twitter here at the top. I pinned the tweet, 175 retweets, 332 likes, which is way better than most of our tweets. And then, created a video, shared it to YouTube, which I can then share to LinkedIn. I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling on this point, but essentially we live in a time now where you got to when you're in the creation process, take content and take your hub of content and spread it as far as it can possibly go. I also wanted to show you this too, because this is one of I would say the most successful videos of 2016. And it was, I don't know if anybody's seen this, but it's essentially chat books. And it's a mom who doesn't have time to make photo albums.
I haven't slept more than 4 hours in 20 years. My diet consists of the protein bars and pita.
And it's just a funny comedy video. And so I guess the point behind showing you this example, I could also drop this link in there, is the fact that social media, I was reading Jab, 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 Right Hook the other day, and social media people go to social media to be entertained. Rarely do they go to social media to be like, I can't wait to download an ebook in the next 10 minutes, right? I can't wait to just attend a webinar. Like that is not a lot of the reasons why people are on social media. People are on social media to be entertained. And if all you're doing, and to take straight from Gary Vee, this is definitely not my idea, but if all you're doing is asking for people to visit your website or asking people to download your ebook or asking people to attend your webinar, that is going to get quickly tuned out of their, basically of their feed. They're just going to scroll right past it. So what you're doing essentially, so this was an ask, and you could tell like, hey, come visit our blog, come read this article. Like, and you know, this is probably a loyal 56 followers. So this is like the Buffer, you know, locals. This is, hey, you can interact with this directly on Facebook. You don't even have to go anywhere to see the content here. And if you wanted to learn more, here it is. And you can see in the results. So when you're sharing content like this, and I'll get more into this in content curation section, but when you're sharing content like this, you're sharing a moment with somebody. You're sharing an experiment or experience, a laugh, a joke. You know what I mean? And those are the little things that build your brand over time. And I'll talk about more in the curation section, but only like 20% of your content should be those generating lead posts or those traffic generating posts. The rest should be what social media is for, and that is entertainment and education and usefulness and awe-inspiring stuff. So all that to be said, this is the lessons basically from our best content through Buffer. So I try to put it into 3 categories. So educational plus entertaining equals edutainment. So if it's either educational, and not just educational as in like a blog post, but like educational as in you're not going to find this anywhere else. It has a great headline, has the content on the actual website backs it up. It's a unique view on something. It's research, it's data. It's very like unique, and you're not going to find it anywhere else. Or it's entertaining. So it's something that people can quickly engage with on social media. They don't have to go anywhere. That's entertainment. So edutainment is the kind of the key factor there. And then also social media is mobile nowadays. I think 93% of Facebook users use Facebook via the app literally only. So it's short and sweet. So imagine yourself flipping through your mobile phone. Like how often you slowly scroll through your phone, right? So like you're flipping through, you're looking at all the content. It's short, it's sweet, it's quick, it's short-lived. Videos that are 2 minutes or less are a great example of that. And then last but not least, the content that works best is relatable, it's awe-inspiring, it's actionable, and it's useful. So I'm not saying you shouldn't post lead generation content, but is there a way you can make that lead generation content native to the platform you're sharing on and not make somebody feel like they're getting asked to do something? Like, can you share a snippet from the webinar? You know what I mean? So just getting the juices flowing around, taking your stuff that is meant to drive sales and leads, and then turning that into fun, educational, edutainment content. So it's breakout group time. I know that was a lot. That was our first of 3 sessions. And now it's time to shake it off, as Taylor Swift would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. So what we're going to do first, you just had a lot of information come at you, and we want you to debrief, decompress from that, and start applying it right now to your own strategy. So we're going to give you a little bit of work time. It's going to be about 10 minutes. It's a great chance, a great opportunity to go to the bathroom if you need, or get a drink as well. We're going to play some music, and we're going to go through a worksheet. So I sent you all a worksheet. I just uploaded it to Slack. It was also in the email I sent you a few days ago. So if you don't have that printed out, no worries. You can just kind of have it up on your screen and take notes wherever you're taking notes, because I don't know if you can actually type in it. But what we're going to do is, so we just went through steps 1 through 3. So the worksheet's broken up by steps. And you're going to have some time just to answer the questions for yourself, reflect on your own strategy, and then we're going to bring you into groups, and we'll talk about that when we're there. But for now, I think Brian's going to just give you like a quick prompt just to explain the worksheet. But again, we're going to go through steps 1 through 3 of the worksheet. You're going to have 10 minutes to go through it. I'm going to play some music, and yeah, we'll go from there. So Brian, is there anything you want to talk about with the worksheet before they get started with it?
Yeah, just really quickly, and this will be pertinent to the breakout groups, so this will be a fun one to work on. So I think the most important one from that first 3 section is the why. Would people follow you on social media? And this is a perfect time while we're all here together thinking about social media to really start to brainstorm ideas that you can walk away with feeling fresh about your social media perspective. So why would people follow you on social media? That number 1 section I think is the most important from here. Number 2 is just the tools, obviously. And then with the creation part, I think one of the things that people get stuck on and why they're say they can't find time for social media is because a lot has to do with prioritization and figuring out ways that you can make a maximum impact on social media in the shortest amount of time, right? So that's like something we all struggle with is how can I create the least amount of content to make the best impact? So what I want you to do is in number 3 is if you had time to make a certain piece of content, what would it be and how are you going to prioritize that moving forward to help you create the least amount of content that's going to have the biggest impact? So is that more video? Is that more infographics? Is that more YouTube videos, et cetera, et cetera? So 1 and 3, I think, are the biggest sections to keep in mind as we go into the breakout groups and for the rest of the presentation.
Fantastic. All right, so you're off to reflect for the next few minutes. We will aim to bring you back probably about 8 minutes, so right at 11 a.m. Eastern, whatever that is for you. So I'm going to play some music and happy worksheeting.
keeps coming, and then it keeps coming, and then it keeps coming till the day it stops. And then it keeps coming, 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 and then it keeps coming till the day it stops. I wish that we could talk about it, but then that's the problem. With someone new, I could have started too late for beginning. You're smarter than my work imagine. Surprised you were there. There shouldn't be this radio silence, but one of the options when someone great is gone. 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 Let's say for the moment.
All right.
We're going to bring you back. Hopefully you got to do a lot of great reflection. Seeing some videos pop back. That's wonderful. Cool. I might just wait few more seconds for folks to come back before we do breakout groups. Okay, so let's see. Okay, wonderful. Great to have you back. Hopefully that was helpful and you got to kind of apply the learnings directly to what you're working on. And we're going to give you a few more times to work on the worksheet for the rest of the workshop. All right, so what we're going to do now is take advantage of the fact that we're all here live together. which is not always the case with something like a webinar. So we want you to have the chance to meet each other, since you're all doing, you're all doing social media work in some capacity. And there's always a lot of value in connecting with new people. So we want to give you that chance. So we're going to break you up into groups. It's a really cool feature of Zoom where we can actually send you off into your own breakout group, just like you would in person. So what's going to happen, there's going to be 4 groups, and I've already assigned you to different groups. So it's around 5 or 6 people per group. And what's going to happen is, logistically, you're going to see a little pop-up come up on your screen inviting you to join a group. You just click accept to head into that group, and you'll just end up, the same kind of view as you have now, but with a smaller group, just 5 or 6 of you. Then you're going to have about 10 minutes to chat, and I'll tell you exactly what you can chat about. And then when it's done, I'm going to send you a little note saying you have a minute to go, and then you don't have to do anything. I'll just basically bring you right back to the main group. So all you have to do is click to enter it. It's very simple. So what's going to happen in the 10 minutes where you'll have time to discuss? I'll post this in Slack too, so you have this prompt. I'd love to encourage you to introduce yourself, so you can kind of go around, say who you are, your brand or your company or the social media, like why you're here. And one quick prompt. So to share, we talked about this a little bit before, but to share why people follow you on social media. Like, what is your unique thing about your brand? Like, what makes someone follow your brand? And if you don't know that, this is a great time to reflect on that together. But yeah, so you'll have 10 minutes to go through all of you, so make sure that you give enough time for everyone. So again, you're going to introduce yourself, say why you're in this workshop today, who your brand is, what your brand is, and why people would follow your brand on social. So let's see. I'm going to send you off into groups, and then I will post the prompt in Slack so you have it. All right, so you're going to see a pop-up come up in a second, and you'll go off in your groups. So hope it's fun. All right, so
have fun, y'all.
Let me just make sure everyone's in a group. Oh, we have a few more to add in. Hold on, let me just make sure. I guess some folks joined last minute. All right, we should be good. All right, so open in all the rooms. Have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome back. Wait a few moments for everyone to trickle back in. Hey, Mike. Is my video still delayed, Brian?
No, you're good now. You're good now. Yeah. That's
great. This has happened a few times where some groups just don't want to come back into the main room. They want to keep chatting.
Actually, from the last workshop, I met a guy from Denver where I live, and we got coffee last week. So I hope we made some new friends in the chat groups.
Nice.
We want back.
You want to go back in?
That's a good time. We love it. Thank you. Yeah.
You will have another chance to hop back in to your breakout group, so you'll have more chances to chat. All right. So are we ready to go back into learning mode? How are we feeling? Yeah, good.
Feeling pumped? Right. Feeling pumped? I like that, Albert. Thank you for that enthusiasm. I saw that.
So good. All right.
All right.
Brian, cool. All you.
All right, y'all. Thanks for just being so super duper. All right, we're going to jump back in. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, curation. And this is where I start yelling at the screen because I get so passionate about curation, because I honestly think that, and I won't ramble like I did in creation, so apologies, but curation absolutely has changed the face of Buffer social media over the last year and a half. I'll give you some examples. I'll show you the stats behind why it works. And then I'll give you a why curation for your own brand, because I think a lot of marketers are hesitant and say, well, it really doesn't drive anything for me, right? But I think that couldn't be the opposite of true, or that is the opposite of true. It can do so much for your brand. And I'm going to show you some tools and some strategies behind content curation. But first, quick quiz for all the peeps out there. And feel free to to unmute and shout out some answers here. But what do these companies have in common? All well-known companies.
They send me a ton of emails in the morning.
They source
of information.
Wait, say that again?
Source of information.
Source of information. I like it.
They source their articles from
Oh.
their community.
Source their articles in their community. And what is that? What's another word for that?
User-generated content.
Yeah, generated content. And even more specifically, I guess what do they
Curated?
do? There we go. Curated content. I love it. But also user-generated content, because essentially they're the same thing. Yes, they are all content curators. Oh, and by the way, they're content curators who have built million-dollar businesses on the backs of content curation. And they're awesome at it. And they're also the top brands on social media. So I think it's one of those situations where A equals B equals C sort of thing. Like there's a reason that they're the top brands on social media, is because content curation is a powerful, powerful source of entertainment, of education, of usefulness. And by the way, for social media managers of one, it's an amazing way to save time and not feel like you always have to create your own content. So let's get into some ways that some tools you can use to find the best curated content, and then some strategies behind content curation. And then I'll give you some examples of how powerful it can be. Okay, content curation best practices. There's 3 tools: Facebook pages to watch, Instagram desktop search, and Twitter lists. These are my 3 free tools. There's a lot of tools out there: BuzzSumo, Feedly, Flipboard. But Facebook pages to watch, Instagram desktop, and Twitter lists are my top favorite tools for curating content. And I'll tell you why: because they have the engagement numbers to help. So Feedly also does. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Feedly, but that's all link articles, and that does show you the engagement numbers. It'll have like a little flame if it's a hot article. That's a really great point, or a really great source. But Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter let you go directly to the content that's working best, because, as we'll talk about in just a second, it's important not to trust, well, until you get really good at curating content, not to trust your own gut on what's going to work. It's best to, from what I've experienced, to take content that you know is going to work and curate that. That's what these big curators do. They don't go out on a whim and hope that they're going to take good content. They take content that they know is going to be good based on engagement numbers, and they share that. And then obviously with content curation, peers and competitors are the absolute best resources for you, because they're in the industry and they're directly connected to your target audience. And then of course, don't be afraid to try new things. So I think with content curation, a lot of marketers are afraid to curate content because, is it off brand? Is it really going to help my brand? Is it going to drive sales? Is it going to drive all these things? So you don't have to jump it full head first into content creation. You can share pieces here and there, see how they go. But I want to show you these tools really quick. And then it's a short section. It's only 2 slides, but I think the bulk of it is here. So first of all, Twitter lists. So this is like one of the more minor tools, but still one of my favorite, and I'll work backwards. So this is my own personal Twitter account, and I have a ton of list set up to help find curated content. And I highly recommend you create these lists for yourself, whether it's from your brand Twitter account or your own personal Twitter account. So I have best brands for inspiration, craziness, which is like, you can imagine what's in that folder. Blog writers, techies, best of the web, marketing millennials, life hacks and insights, careers, CEOs, need to knows, friends and family, obviously, just for that, creative design, branding, careers, investing, data, mobile, smarts. So I won't obviously read all the Twitter lists I have, but so let's go into best brands for inspiration. Business Insider, really connected, a great source of information for us, for our target audience. People who use Buffer often read Business Insider, they often read Forbes, they often read Inc. I've only found that out after lots of experimentation with content. So I've then added them to the experiment, or to the, I guess, the list, right? So this is a good place to just get an overview of all the content that's out there, what's working. But if you really, really wanted to get into like what's popular and what you can curate, I would suggest actually going to their Twitter profile and just scrolling through. And what you're going to do, what you're doing here is you're not actually looking at the content, as weird as that sounds, but bear with me. So you're not actually looking what they said in the tweet. You're not even looking at the photo. All you're looking at is the amount of retweets and the amount of favorites. That's all you're looking at as you're scrolling through. And this is super easy because you don't have to really, you're not trusting your gut here. You're going by pure data. So 18, okay, so that's a good one. That's the highest retweet count I've seen yet. 36, that's another good piece. 23, okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So let's say that 36 was the highest retweet count from Business Insider. Well, then and only then am I going to actually look at the content that they shared. And then you have to ask, is this on brand for my brand? The vertical moving bike is only for convenience, not fitness. Probably not something we're going to share from the Buffer account, but it might be it might be for one of your brands that has to do with maybe fitness brand, or maybe you're a funny brand on social media, or maybe you're a lifestyle brand, or maybe your main demographic is parents or people who are looking to get into fitness. So first you look for the engagement, and then you look at the actual content, and then you ask, is it on brand? So that's Twitter lists. I also want to show you really quick too, anybody who's looking to grow their Instagram account. So when I started a year ago, or a year and a half ago, we had 4,000 followers on Instagram. And we used to share like team photos. And those are great, but we're a remote team, and it was very hard for me to get photos of the teams at all time. I would look to our peers and competitors, and they're sharing quote graphics, not getting that much engagement. And I was like, well, how am I going to turn our Instagram account around, right? So when you're thinking about your brand and content curation, think outside the box of what your brand stands for, and then also think about what people are on Instagram for. So in my experience with Instagram, people are on Instagram for fashion, food, friends, family, and fun. And I just made that up, but they're all F's and it works. So fashion, food, friends, family, fun. And a lot of Instagram is this lifestyle aspect. And as Buffer, as a remote company, one of our values is we like to, we work from the places that make us happiest throughout the world. So I'm like, okay, there might be an opportunity for content there on Instagram. And this is what you can think about for your own brand. What in the circle of my brand values makes sense on specific platforms, especially Instagram? So what I did is I started saying, okay, I'm going to reach out to some photographers and I'm going to ask them if I can share their photo. So it started with, maybe some work spots, some work spot, like a lovely afternoon in Amsterdam, wishing everyone a happy Easter and Sunday celebration of fans and family around the world, right? So, and then here it is. And then I give credit to the original user. So we have Buffer Community as our hashtag, and then we have photo from this. And so that's a piece of user-generated content. I reached out to them either in the comment section of this photo on their Instagram account, or I direct messaged them and said, hey, we'd love to share your photo. Maybe we use it on an Instagram account. We'll be sure to give you full photo credit. Literally probably 6 times out of 10, you will be able to use a person's photo. But yeah, just make sure you ask for permission. So more and more, I started sharing these photos that kind of gave this lifestyle approach to Instagram and to Buffer. And since then, our average like a year and a half ago was about 100 likes per photo. It's now up to like 780. This one had 872. And we also grew our followers by more than 25,000. So I'm not saying it's a perfect formula, but what I am saying is that with content curation, it's about what falls within the limits of your brand. It doesn't have to be also, like, I'm not going to share only social media quotes on here. So then, like here, a rare bird's eye view of the one and only Central Park, way up with Buffer community member Lens Aloft. And I found this photo, and so let me show you how I find these photos really quickly. So I have some go-to accounts that I know I can find great content from. Earth Official is one of them. Earth Picks is another one, and this will be specific to you. And it does take time up front to find accounts that you can go to on Instagram for inspiration. But once you find them and once you know them, pretty quickly and easy to do what I'm about to do. So just like Twitter, and this is what's great about the Instagram desktop version, is you can do this very quickly. Again, I think these are all gorgeous photos. Like, dude, don't get me wrong, these photographers are amazing. Every one of these is an amazing photo. But you'll be surprised what people like on social media. You will continually be surprised by what actually performs well. I'm continually surprised, and I do this full time. So what I do is I quickly hover over the photos, and I start getting a gauge for what is like a very popular photo on their account. So I saw 414,000 up here, 4,000 comments. That's pretty popular versus, like 350, 318. Here's 397. That's pretty solid. So I'm just scrolling over, and I'm literally just looking at the like count. So here's 417K, 2,500 comments. So not as big as a comment as this one up here. Then I say, okay, would this fit with the Buffer brand? This is obviously one of their most popular photos. Maybe I can turn this into a Monday motivation thing. Maybe I can turn this into tag your friends on Friday sort of thing. Maybe I can turn this into something. So there's always an opportunity, especially if it's an adorable photo like this. So I might go to this person's account and then look, and is this on brand for Buffer? Maybe not. So I would actually look for this photo. And then so you got to continue to ask yourself, what's working? Is it on brand? Last but not least, I want to show you my favorite tool on the planet right here. So this tool is Facebook Pages to Watch. And if you are a manager on a business page and you have more than 100 likes, you can get access to this feature. So it's under the Insights tab. If you click on Insights, you're probably all familiar with this view. And they always make you feel bad with these little red arrows. Anyways, okay, so you go down, Facebook Pages to Watch, best tool on the planet. So talking about, we're going to talk about setting benchmarks later. This is the best tool. Setting goals for yourself, the best tool, I'd say. Finding content to curate, the best tool. So what you're going to do is you can add pages to watch. So you just click on that little add pages button, and you can do, like, let's say Business Insider, right? I've already liked their page, so it's not going to show up. But I literally follow probably 50 brands on Facebook Pages to Watch. And then although, by the way, they put your brand down here ranked. So obviously I follow, and they rank them in order of total likes to your page. So what you do is you set up peers, set up competitors in here, and you also set up brands that you know are like top brands on social media that you can find inspiration from. Then what Facebook does is show you how much their page has grown from the last week, which is incredible. They show you how many times they've posted this week, so give you an idea of what other people in your industry, how much they're posting. And then on the right side, it shows you how much engagement they've got over the last 7 days, which I think is mind-boggling that Facebook provides this information. It's absolutely incredible. So for Buffer, we've posted 6 times in the last week. We've gotten 1,400 engagements, and we've grown 0.5%. Okay, it's obviously not Entrepreneur. We haven't gotten 60,000 engagements, but here's a similar brand, HubSpot. 13 times, 1.3. Our average engagements is up, so I'm actually kind of happy about how we performed this week. How about Adweek, another really good example. They posted 98 times with that. So you can start to get an idea of what they're doing. But then this is the absolute best part of this feature. So like I said before, people really resonate with Business Insider, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Wired, Quartz with Buffer. So what I'll do is I'll go in here maybe once or twice a week, and I'll click on this. And what Facebook does is it literally ranks their best posts over the last 7 days in order by most engaged posts. It's absolutely incredible. So going back to that thing where it's like, don't trust your own instincts with content creation, this is literally giving you the stuff that's performing the best. So as we talked about before, I might click on these. I might click on like 5 or 6 different brands, go in, check out their most best performing posts for the last week. Probably won't be posting about Pablo Escobar on Buffer's brand account. Do any of these fit within the Buffer brand? So here's one. Employees of vending machine company are getting microchips implanted in their bodies. Probably not on cue for Buffer's brand, but also an opportunity for a lot of curated content. And then you could reach out and then share this video. You can even get permission from the original video creator to share that video if you really want to take it to the next level. Also Wired, I might jump down here. So without getting too crazy about this, Facebook Pages to Watch has literally cut the amount of time that I spent curating content on social media in half. And if you look, I wanted to show you how powerful this can be, like I promised. If you look at, all I did was go into Insights tab and then go to all posts section, because I wanted to show you this. If you look at our top posts over the last, let's say 20 days or so, curated content. Look at this post. This is a piece of curated content, and we're cross-promoting our Instagram account, so it's a win-win. This post had 3,700 likes, 392 shares, 214 comments. Obviously, we boosted it, which I'll get into in a little while, but there's a piece of curated content. Curated content. If you look at some of these top posts over the last 20 days, piece of curated content. So curated content. This one reached almost 500,000 people. And I'm going to show you another example as we go along. But point being, and we'll move on to the next section, is that our most popular posts over the last, let's say 6 months, I would have to say 60 to 70% of our top posts are curated content. And we go back to the idea of sharing a moment, sharing an experience, sharing a joke, sharing a laugh, sharing a tear even. You know, maybe that's what your brand focuses on, like that actual serious stuff in the world. So you're sharing moments with curated content, and it doesn't necessarily lead to sales right away, but what it does do is increase the amount of people that see your content, that see your brand logo, and they're not going to buy, like they might not buy from you now, but when they go and they need a social media management tool, or they need, you know, maybe they're looking at a graduate program, or maybe they're looking at, and I probably should ask what you all do before we started, but maybe they're looking at something specific and then they recognize your brand logo from social media. Well, you already have a relationship with that person because all you were doing is providing great content. You weren't interrupting them from their experience on social media. So that is content curation in a nutshell. And there's no secret to content curation because you have to experiment with content to figure out what works best. But I do encourage you to experiment with content curation. And if you want some inspiration, go to our Facebook page and check out the stuff that we've curated, what's worked, what hasn't. You'll kind of get an idea of what we do in our strategy. Okay, so section 5, really quickly, getting comfortable with social media ROI and analytics. So this scares a lot of people, including me. I'm still not 100% comfortable with social media analytics and ROI, but I do have an idea of how to find the data you're looking for, and then how to prove to either your clients, your boss, yourself, that what you're doing on social media is the right thing, right? And that you're seeing results in a positive light. So I break them down into 5 sections, and it's goals and benchmarks, metrics, tracking, reporting, repeat. So the repeat really isn't a section, it's just repeating what number 1 through 4. But goals, metrics, tracking, reporting. The best way to set up goals isn't to pull goals out of thin air. It's to set benchmarks. And you know, there's different ways to set goals on social media, but I think benchmarks are the most effective way to actually see if you're making progress or not, based on 4 things. Aspirational, so you're learning from social leaders. So you can use the Facebook Pages to Watch tool, for example, or go onto Twitter, and you can see what people in your industry, what they're achieving on social media. And then you can say, okay, in Q2 of 2017, we want to achieve 3,000 engagements per month on social media, an average video view of 5,000, and we want to grow our page by 0.2%. So that is an aspirational benchmark. And you didn't just pull that out of thin air because you don't even know if that's good. What you did do is you pulled that from your peers and competitors and said, this is like, let's say, what HubSpot is achieving. How can we replicate that success, and how can we grow even further? So that's aspirational. And then you also have trend. And then earning competitive, I'm not going to cover, but because I think aspirational and trended are the top 2. Trended is you're setting goals based on previous activity in your own social media. So like, that's another great place to start. So maybe you're not really sure how to figure out what your peers and competitors are doing. Well, you can say, okay, last Q1 of 2017, we achieved 1,000 engagements per week on social media and an average video count or average video view count of 3,000 per video. Well, you could say, okay, let's increase that by 10%. So then you calculate what's 10% on top of that. Or you say, we want to achieve 2,000 engagements this month on social media. And so setting those concrete goals and then putting them on paper. So Dropbox Paper, the tool we said from the beginning, that's how our marketing team here at Buffer functions. We all create goals, and then we use those goals, and we set specific actions moving forward. So that way you have something in your mind that you can look to achieve. So metrics. Now, that's the actual goal setting, but if you're getting into metrics, here are the most important ones you can track on social media. Obviously, engagement is huge. And a lot of times people call those vanity metrics, but I am not a fan of that term. I think vanity metrics is some of the most important things you can measure on Facebook, because if you're not getting likes, if you're not getting comments, if you're not getting shares, then people aren't resonating with your content. So not looking at vanity metrics, I think is a bit naive, I think, on some companies' part. So look at those likes, look at those comments, look at those shares. And then, of course, you're going to have to drive ROI at one point. So is that clicks to your website? Is that signups to a webinar? Is that downloads of an ebook? So set specific goals based on those. And then also, I think those of you thinking about video out there, the way I track video success is I try to go for the viral hits of video, but I also try to keep the average engagement high. So like, let's say in the next quarter, I want to create 6 videos with an average organic view of 1,500 and an 8-second average watch time. So notice how specific that is, because instead of just having one big hit of a video and like 5 duds, I'm saying I want to create 6 videos that are quality that all achieve a certain standard of success, because like we talked about before, quality over quantity. And we also might have growth to like 5,800 fans, and then also like average retention, for example, on Instagram stories. So whatever your channels you're on, set specific and measurable. So like that SMART, remember like the SMART acronym: specific, measurable, actionable. I forgot R and TR, but share that later. But give your goals a specific timeline and make them specific and measurable. And that will help you really get a feel for if you're achieving things. And then what you do is you constantly measure those. And then if it's not working, change your tactics, experiment with something else. Be like a little like mini growth hacker on social media. That's what literally I had to do as a team of 1, because I didn't have a bunch of people creating content for us. I had to be like, okay, today I'm going to create a video. Maybe it's I summarize a blog post and oh my gosh, it worked. Okay, so maybe I summarize another blog post, or maybe I create an infographic. So you got to hack your way to these goals, people. And I promise you will find success, but as long as the goals are specific and measurable. And then also and so when we get to tracking, there's, I think, a couple things to do. If you don't have obviously programs like HubSpot and Marketo and Pardot and like all those programs are very expensive to actually track social media results. So if you don't have one of those tools, there's 2 ways to track: Google UTMs, and which you could use Bitly with, but essentially you're going to track every link you send out to social media through Google UTMs. If you use Buffer, you can actually, we automatically track all posts that go out through Buffer with UTMs, and you can change the UTMs on the back end to have whatever customized UTM you want through Buffer, which I think is pretty neat. But Google UTMs and Google URL Builder are the 2 ways to track it. And then obviously you're going to want to set up pixels. So if you're using Google UTMs, you need to have Google Analytics set up on your website. I know this is pretty basic for a lot of you. And then also make sure to have that new Facebook pixel set up on your website, because that's when we get into advertising, that is huge to be able to retarget people and advertise to people that are interested in your product, who have visited your web pages, a specific amount of times. So Google UTMs, Google Analytics, and then Facebook pixels on your website must have. And like I said before, don't ignore vanity metrics, and then track data weekly and update your strategy based on your results as often as you possibly can, because that's going to help you realize that maybe I'm not doing something right. How can I change that? And then what we do at Buffer is we do weekly, or at least I do weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly targets, so that I know I'm on track to hit goals. And it's not like I'm gonna get fired if I don't hit goals. They're like it's my personal thing, so I can make adjustments based on what I'm experiencing. And then last but not least, reporting, Excel spreadsheets, waterfall charts. I wanna show you something really quickly as we get into this section. I showed you this earlier, but this is like this is how we track everything. This is how I track all my social media results right over here. So I'm gonna share a blog post that we wrote where you can actually download the spreadsheet and use it yourself. But here we are. So my goal for the cycle we were on before was to achieve 210,000 engagements for our social media in 6 weeks. Here's 100% of the goal: 210, 85, 70. And then over here on the right, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you can actually see that if I were to hit 210,000 engagements, this is the blue line. And then this is the actual. So hovering below, made some adjustments here. How am I going to get those engagements up? And then here we are. So I didn't hit my goal completely, but I got to 85% of my goal by the end of this quarter. And it's just a cool visual way to, I guess, like put your goals into visual. So I'll drop that in the Slack channel. And obviously, like we talked about, you can use Buffer, Hootsuite, Sprout, any of the tools that you use to manage your social media. They all have analytics built in. We're actually building a new analytics platform as we speak, which we're super excited about. And then if you're talking about ROI to your boss, so it's return minus investment divided by investment, and that's ROI. So going into social media, determine how much each metric is worth. Does your boss care only about clicks? Okay, then we have to create goals around clicks, and we have to get creative with that, right? Or is it around engagement or reach or brand awareness? So how much is each worth to your company? And I think it's time to have a little fun. And this is one of my favorite parts of the whole thing, because I know I know there's a lot going on, so I'm going to stop share. And I'm going to let Ariel take this one.
Awesome. All right, so we're a little bit more than halfway through the workshop, but we like to do something just to kind of let loose and, there's a lot of learning, a lot of active listening and thinking throughout these few hours. So we find that there's a lot of value in just sort of like giving our brains a break, laughing a little bit, and smiling, because that really helps us. We find it helps us learn better. So we're just going to do something a little bit fun just for a few minutes. If you don't know us at Buffer, we're really big fans of GIFs. Or GIFs, I would say GIFs. But you're all welcome, however you pronounce it.
I'm going to go GIF. I'm for sure going to go GIF.
I go GIF too. So what we're going to do, I think you're all in Slack at the moment, but what we're going to do, we're going to head over to Slack, and I would love to invite all of you to find one GIF that represents how you're feeling at the moment, whatever that means to you. If you've never looked for GIFs before, there's a great website called Giphy, which is GIPHY.com. And you can search for your mood and anything else you want. So yeah, if you need any help with that, let us know, but just feel free to drop them into the Buffer Workshops channel in Slack, and we'll see how everyone's feeling at the moment. And yeah. All right, I'm gonna find mine. I'm gonna put some music on too.
All right. That's how you feel, Brian? Oh, you're muted.
This is one of my favorite GIFs. I'm not sure if it's how I feel, but I love Bob Ross.
Sorry, the music was distracting. Keep on sharing your GIFs. Oh gosh. That Will Ferrell GIF is crazy.
I know. It's making me brings back memories with that Will Ferrell GIF. Oh, that's the Kramer one is one of my favorites. Absolutely love it. I've definitely used that in Buffer social media before in the past.
Ashley, I once tried to film a GIF of me doing cartwheels like that, and it's really difficult to get yourself in the frame. At least I had trouble doing it.
I cannot even imagine.
I think the person filming it needed to be further back from me, but we were too close. So basically, they just saw like my torso. It's not very successful.
That's funny.
These are great. Give me a few more minutes to find a good one, because I know there's so many ways that we can use GIFs to represent our reactions. Anyone say GIF in here? I see a very angry head nose. I think I read that the person who created it intended for it to be called GIFs, though.
Oh, yeah?
I think so.
I heard the same thing.
So this GIF that I'm about to drop in here is maybe the best performing GIF on social media of all time. Oh, that puppy's adorable. People go crazy over this one.
It's my favorite. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's the best.
All right, just take maybe a few more seconds to find a good one if you haven't already. Oh my gosh. This is good for my gift collection. I'm gonna take some of these.
I know. I'm like downloading them as we speak.
Nicely done, everyone.
I feel like some of them I keep watching and anticipate that something new is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it never does.
We're just waiting. We need too many surprises in our lives now, where we're numb to these.
I think Heather's dog wants to get in on the workshop. Looks like.
Oh, what a cutie! Is that a husky?
Yes, he is a husky. He's I think maybe an Australian husky. I don't know what he is.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. Husky. My other one's inside. It's too hot for him.
My dog is currently lying across my feet.
Oh. What do you have?
He's an Australian Shepherd mix.
Oh, cute.
If anyone follows me on Instagram, I tend to Instagram story him during these workshops because he just tends to do funny things. Anyway, all right, let's move on. These have been great. Thanks for having a little bit of fun and giving our brains a break. So we're going to give you a few more minutes now to debrief from the second section that Brian just went through and fill out the worksheet. So this would be for sections 4 and 5 on the worksheet. We're going to give you a little bit less time than the first time, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes, so we can finish up the rest of the workshop. But yeah, so I'm going to put some music on. Feel free to take that out. Brian, is there anything you wanted to say about this section?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think the most important one to focus on is number 5. And because, this workshop is, we want you to walk away with some actionable stuff. So the first question under number 5, it's just, what 3 goals do you want to reach on social media in the next 2 months or so? Can you be as specific as possible? And then is there a way you can then prioritize those 1 through 3 to say, okay, today after I leave, this is what I'm going to work on, and that's how I'm going to get here. So go forth.
All right, so give you about 4 minutes. All right. Let's come back together. Hopefully you got through sections 4 and 5. Okay. Let's see. I'll make sure I see Brian's video before we keep going.
Whoops, I'm back. Sorry about that.
It's okay. All right. So we are in the final stretch. We have one more section. You're all doing amazingly. So just to give you a heads up of what's going to happen in the final parts of the workshop, just to give you a heads up. So we're going to finish the presentation, go through steps 6 and 7, so you have all 7 steps. Give you another few more minutes just to finish up the worksheets and finish that reflection. And we're going to do one last group discussion. And so please stick around for that if you're able to. And then we're going to come back together as a group after that and just kind of conclude things and wrap things up and do a few more things after that. So that's the plan. Brian, would you like to take us through to the end?
Yes, absolutely. And I will make this last part, these last 2 sections, a little quicker just because I know we spent a lot of time on the other stuff, which I thought was more probably useful stuff for you to go forward. But we'll be talking about social media ads and then some things you can do to walk away feeling great about your social media journey. So I'll share my screen one last time with y'all. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Cool. All right, y'all, let's do this. So understanding the theory behind social media ads. So I'm not going to give you examples of ads that are working, but what I'm going to do is tell you the theory behind social ads so you can then put the pieces into place with the actual content. So essentially with social media advertising, you have TOFU, top of the funnel content, you have middle of the funnel content, MOFU, and bottom of the funnel content, BOFU. And if you ever say these out loud in your office, you look like a crazy person, but that is essentially the 3 stages of social media advertising. So top of the funnel is probably my favorite place to live in advertising. It's that brand awareness stuff. It's that fun stuff. It's the promotional video, the things that really like get people talking, right? And the purpose of top of the funnel is to get as many people as you possibly can into your brand circle, right? Into your audience. And you're not filtering anybody out. Like these are all unqualified leads, if you will, at this moment. Then you're going to work your way down to the bottom of the funnel. And this is where having pixels set up on your website is super important. Whether you're using AdWords, whether you're using HubSpot, Marketo, Facebook advertising, you have to have the pixel set up on your website in order to get into these bottom stages. So MOFU is where you begin to filter out unqualified prospects from your funnel, the proverbial funnel, right? So by doing so, you might be doing things like webinars, ebooks, case studies, classes, and then those are the people that are truly interested into hearing what you have to say and aren't just interested in your fun content, right? So that's middle of the funnel. And they're looking to solve a specific problem, like social media strategy team of one, or a webinar on Facebook advertising. Then the bottom of the funnel, and this is like I think the hardest part of advertising to get right, because it's expensive. It's really time consuming to find the things that resonate most with people. And it's just hard to set up A/B testing. But essentially with the bottom of the funnel, you're asking people to finally purchase whatever it is you're selling, right? So the key with the bottom of the funnel is that it doesn't happen, or it rarely happens, without all the touch points above. Like, that's why social media is so tricky, right? When you say you're looking to generate leads or drive traffic to your website, well, it's very tough to generate leads to cold prospects, which is why everything we talked about before, the fun, the educational, the entertaining, is important, because what you're doing, you're building blocks, you're building relationships with people, so that when you do hit them with an ad or a piece of content that looks to drive an actual sale, they're ready for it, and they know your brand, and they've built a relationship with you. It's like they, and this is kind of like, I don't know how this kind of sounds coming out, but it's almost like they feel they've got so much value from you, from all the touch points they've had with your company, that they almost feel bad not purchasing your product or not signing up for whatever it is that you have to offer. And that's not a bad thing. It's because people are compelled to give back to companies that have helped them along the way. Sorry, siren's coming by really quick. So I want to give you some examples of types of content at each stage, because I think this is important as you go about your advertising, I guess, like experiments, right? So on the right side of the product, you have unaware, and on the left side of the product, you have most aware. And this is, on the right side, people might not know your brand. You're doing stories, secrets, data, research, fun stuff, right? And then as you move to the left side, you have landing pages like product, price, discounts, deals. In the middle, you have like your solution, like the claims and proof. So when people come to your website, who have you worked with as a company? You know, who are some of your alumni if you work for a university? Maybe you have some social media proof on Yelp if you're like a food or retail store of people who have enjoyed your services. But more specifically, here are some actual pieces of content for each stage of the cycle. So on the left, you have awareness stage, right? So this is like the top of the funnel. In the middle is the consideration, so MOFU, and then decision on the right. So on the left, you might have, look out, everything there is free. Obviously, when people don't know about your brand, you can't ask them for a lot of things. So white papers, guides, tips, ebooks, checklists, videos, kits, et cetera, et cetera. Then as you move in, you might do webinars where you might actually ask for their email. You're still not asking for a sale, but you're asking for an email. Case studies, samples, product specs, catalogs, et cetera. And on the right, this is the ask, right? This is where you go for the home run. You ask, maybe it's a trial, maybe it's a demo, maybe it's a consultation, estimates or quotes. And if you're a retail brand or you sell physical products, nothing works better than a good old discount or a good old promotional sale or a free trial, right? So that's kind of how you can think about as you move along. So right now, I usually put a little box around Facebook, because I think one of the things that marketers are most interested in, and we could have a whole workshop on advertising, but one of the things you're probably most interested in is Facebook advertising. And because number one, the cost to actually advertise on Facebook is very inexpensive compared to other channels, not to mention there's 2 billion people on the platform. So this is kind of what, imagine a little blue box around the Facebook right there. That's kind of what it looks like, right? So you have ads that you test out. You test the messaging, whether that's a piece of top of the funnel content, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, and you have those for each stage. And you run those concurrently and to test out each stage. So let me show you what I mean. So here is a look at the Buffer advertising account. So this is Business Manager, and if you're not set up in Business Manager, I highly recommend it. But this is how we're set up. So here, post engagement, that's very top of funnel, right? And then we might move down, here's top of the funnel for our product reply. And then we have reply bottom of the funnel. So the audiences in reply top of the funnel content are very general. It might be interested in social media marketing. They might be interested in products like Reply, like Hootsuite or HubSpot or Marketo or Agorapulse or Intercom. So those companies very generally targeted. The audience, I think, is like 2 or 3 million, very big. But then for our audience for the reply, for the bottom of the funnel, these are actually people, we actually are retargeting these people based on visits to our website using the Facebook pixels. So this bottom of the funnel is very, very targeted. So we might run an ad based on, here, let's see. So we might run a set of 3 ads, and I tested out 3 to begin with that test different pictures, but then also use the same language. So when you're advertising, you want to just change one variable at a time so you can understand what works and what doesn't. But audience targeting is one of the most important things you can do in advertising, and it starts very general and it gets very specific as you go along. But like I said, it's an entire workshop worth of content there. So I wanted to move into something that is a little more pertinent to you all. And this is what has really helped us to grow our social media over the last year. And this is what we call our boosting strategy. So when you're thinking about advertising, when you're thinking about boosting posts on Facebook, it's very, very important to remember that you're starting with organic content first. That will help you get the most success out of your content on social media. So you're not going into, when you're sharing on Facebook or whatever it may be, you're not saying, oh, don't worry, like I'm gonna post this here, and then don't worry, I'll have advertising dollars behind it, so it'll make it good. Like, you've got to reverse engineer it and say, I'm gonna post everything organically, and I'm only gonna boost or promote my top performing content, because that, number one, cuts down on costs dramatically. The cost per click goes way down when you do that. And not to mention, you're not boosting something that people don't want to see, right? So you're avoiding negative feedback on your page, and you're really taking good content and you're amplifying it, and you're sharing those experiences with everyone. So when you're in your Facebook page, you want to identify in the Insights tab posts that are doing, or in your Buffer analytics, you want to identify posts that are doing particularly well, and you can sort by post in Buffer, you can sort by post in Facebook. Which ones are doing particularly well? Those are the best candidates, right? So then I suggest doing this because it'll give you a lot more options in the future to reuse content as ads. So as you probably know, as a Facebook marketer, Facebook gives you, after the post, they give you that little option to boost posts, right? I would recommend going a different way with boosting posts. Don't use this boost post feature. What we do, and we've actually done this we do this Buffer, is you're gonna set up a target audience, right? So you're gonna set up interested in, colleges, universities, anything that's related to your brand. You're gonna set up the audience first, right? And then you're gonna set up a campaign based on post engagement. Then you're gonna create ads within here. So what you can do is you can create an ad, and instead of boosting a post on the Facebook page, you can actually, so I'm gonna show you the quick process. You actually go into Ads Manager and you can use existing posts from your page. And we've actually found this works a lot better than boosting posts because you get to set up the audience beforehand. You have a lot more control over the targeting options. You have a lot more control over when it's posted. Boosting posts just kind of says, okay, put $30 behind it and show it to the audience, right? When you do it this way, you can actually have a lot more control over what's seen and what's not. So I highly recommend going this route because then you can manage all of your ads within one dashboard, and it just looks better. It works better. But obviously the other way is not a bad way, just giving you options for boosting posts. And then last but not least, relevance score is huge in the Facebook ad algorithm. What is relevance score? It's how relevant is the content that you're posting to your audience, and how are they engaging with it, right? So they actually scrape the web pages that you're sending the audience to. Does it match the ad that you're saying? Does the content and the landing page match each other? Is this spam? Are people marking it as spam? How much are people clicking with it? So that relevance score is super important. If you're in the top of the funnel, brand awareness stage, 8 to 10 is a good range to be in for relevance score. If you're posting something that's supposed to be engaged with a lot, but it has relevance score of 5, it might not be resonating with your audience the way it should. That's a good sign to maybe turn that off and move and try a different post or a different ad. I want to show you quickly the power of what boosting content and so we're kind of bringing this full circle right now, right? So this is a piece of curated content. We boosted it on Facebook, and it's a brand awareness piece, just tofu. There's no qualified leads in here. So we curated this from Wired. We spent $150 on it on our Facebook page. We let it go organically for a few days, and it reached 750,000 people, which is like double what we had ever seen before with curated content or with any sort of content on our Facebook page. It had 20,000 reactions, 68,000 post clicks, 2,200 shares. It increased the actions on our page, which is actually sign up to Buffer, by 210% that week. And it resulted in an additional 500 page likes to our page. Excuse me. So 750,000 people, we put $150 behind it. I would spend that 150 every day if we can get these kind of results. Another piece of curated content, spend 130 here. 345,000 people reached, 3,800 reactions, 134,000 video views. It's actually up to 200,000 now because I actually screenshotted this a while back. 187% increase in page actions, 320% or 320 additional likes. So the power of curated content is unbelievable. When you mix that with just organic posting and then boosting your top performing posts on your Facebook page with just a small budget you can start out with. Like if your manager or you or your company is scared to, I guess, spend money on Facebook advertising, you can start small. Start with $5, $10, five a day for 3 days, see how it works, just get some results there. And if they're super concerned about spending money, try boosting a post that actually drives clicks to your website or signups in the ebook. Start small, work your way up from there. But it really, really does work, and it's absolutely incredible. And we did this all behind the scenes in Facebook Ads Manager. So full circle, content curation plus boosting plus tofu plus organic plus fun. Like the Friday feeling when your buffer queue is full and headed out the door after a short week. I don't know if any of you seen this video. It's hilarious. This guy like rockets down in front of all their bicycles. And sure, that's not going to drive signups for Buffer necessarily, but what it does do is it's relatable to people, and you can see it in the results. Last but not least, before we send you on your social media way, but for breakout groups first, experiment, stand out, and find success. So very short section here, and just a few things to think about as you go. So I've talked about this book, Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vee. Great book, highly recommended. He refers to social media as the sweet science. And I absolutely love that because a lot of times people think social media marketing is easy, right? You just post content to social media and it does things. Well, that's not the case. It's actually a science to a lot of things that we're talking about today, and it's experimentation, and it's trying things, and it's sharing experiences and not asking all the time. So number one, you have to experiment on social media. Try a variety of content types, wording, length, timing, whatever it may be. Try as much things as you possibly can. Then what you want to do is you got to understand the language of each social media channel. So like I talked about before with Instagram, right? Like if we were just to share photos of quotes, of inspirational quotes, it wouldn't have done well on Instagram. We wouldn't be where we are today. People are not on Instagram for that kind of stuff, right? Just like people are on Facebook for a specific reason, people are on Twitter for a specific reason, Snapchat, Instagram stories, etc. Understand the language of each social media channel. I give the example there. It's like trying to speak Dutch in Spain. Like some people might speak Dutch in Spain. Like some people might be interact with your content that you posted across all of social media, the same thing. But chances are that it's not going to resonate as it would as if you posted it natively to the channel. Last but not least, play the long game. And I know this is hard because I know you have a lot of people to report to. You want to see instant success on social media, but I hope to encourage you to say that, I don't know if this is discouraging or encouraging, but it took me a year to fully get comfortable with Buffer social media. And that was after lots of experiments. I never had a team. It was me the whole time. And I do a lot of other things too. I podcast, I make videos, I work with the community, I do workshops like this. So social media isn't my own role, just like I know it's not your own role. But if you dedicate yourself to consistently committing to trying things out, to making videos, to speaking natively on each channel, you will build relationships and you will grow your social media over time because you will understand your audience over time. So have patience and play the long game because it is a long game. So last but not least, 5 thoughts to get you going. Quality over quantity. Don't worry about being everywhere at once. Be where your audience is. Work on the why until you've got that down. So once you think you have a why people would follow you on social media, ask why again, and then ask why again, and ask why again until you have a core essence of why people would follow you. And then develop your own funnel with Tofu. If you're getting into advertising, develop a funnel where you can get people into your funnel, get out the unqualified leads, and then give them something that you know will work, like an offer, right? Your offer. And then last but not least, Love this one. Become a student of social media. Read as many blogs as you possibly can. Reach out to other marketers in your industry. Like you just met 25 of your peers. Get their email, get their number, talk to them about what's working. I talk to social media managers several times a week about what's working and what's not. Become a student of social media. And that's it, y'all. That is the presentation. And Ariel has a few more things for you, and we're going to do a few more couple fun things before we go.
Yes, amazing. You all made it. Okay, so what we normally would do now is give you some more time to finish up the worksheet, but we're running a little bit late, so I think I'm going to encourage you to do that after the workshop. I'm so sorry to do that, because normally I love giving people that time to work during this, because I know that once it's over, life happens. But I do want to give you time to have another breakout group, just because we're all here together in person. So we're going to do that instead. So we're going to break you up into the same groups again. You're going to have about 8 or 10 minutes to chat. So you're going to be with the same people, so you hopefully already know each other a little bit. And really, this workshop is all about like doing this work amazingly, sometimes without a team behind you. Some of you, the folks from Wake Forest, clearly have a great team with 'cause there's 3 of them or 4 of them here. But a lot of you might be doing this by yourself. So we want this community to be a way to hold you accountable to the goals that you want to set for yourself. So one thing we love to do at Buffer is set intention. So in this breakout group, I would love to encourage you to share the one intention you want to set for yourself. Maybe it's something you want to experiment with after this workshop. Maybe it's a goal you have for the next month, just one intention you want to set. And it really helps, I find, to declare that out loud. So same thing as last time, you're going to see a pop-up for the breakout group on your screen, and then we'll bring you back and finish things up. So please don't, if you're able to stick through until the end of the workshop, we'd love to come back together as a group after the breakout group. So with that, I'm going to send you off into your groups, and then we'll come back together at the end. All right, just bring everyone back.
Real life images are more relatable.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Cool. Welcome back. All right, so we've made it to the end. We want to do one quick thing, just in case more people have to hop off. We do this when we do in-person workshops. We take a group selfie, and the equivalent of that is a screenshot, which is what we'd love to do now. So if you're up for turning on your video, if you have one, strike a pose. I'm going to take a screenshot. So I'll give you a heads up when I'm about to do it. All right. So, okay, strike a pose. 3, 2, 1. Let's do one more just for good measure. All right. And 3, 2, 1. Amazing. Thanks so much for doing that. So, okay. So Brian has a few next steps or ways to keep learning. If you want to share that quickly, Brian, then I'll wrap things up at the very end.
Yes, absolutely. I'll do this super quick because I know y'all are, been a long workshop. Cool. So just wanted to give you a few resources, and this will be in the presentation that we send out. But obviously, Slack community where we're all chatting now is one of our favorites, Ariel, and we have a huge user base there, over 3,000 users of social media, like-minded people like yourself, where you can ask questions, learn things. We also have a brand new Skillshare class, and if you use that link there, you'll also get 2 months free of Skillshare, where you can learn a bunch of stuff, which is super cool. A new email course, 25 days, 25 social media strategies, where I basically created everything I've ever learned about social media in one email course. And then last but not least, our podcast, The Science of Social Media. You can find it on iTunes. My co-host Haley and I, and colleague Haley and I, talk about everything social media. So that's that. You have a lot of learning resources from us moving forward, and super excited to connect with you all on Twitter or on Facebook or in the Slack community. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining us today.
Yeah, and we're really always available. If you have any last minute or if you have any follow-up questions after this presentation, you can find us in Slack directly. Just feel free to send a message either in the Buffer Workshops channel or to us directly. We are more than happy to help. And we're also always available on social media, of course. One thing before what we're going to do is Brian and I are going to stick around. If anyone has questions, we're happy to hang out and do a little bit of a Q&A. If you need to get going, that is totally fine as well, but we'll be here just for a few minutes. Want to stick around. One more thing before you go. We really want to make these workshops super valuable and meaningful for you. We're so grateful that you just took this time to spend these 2.5 hours with us. And we want to make sure that if we keep doing these workshops, that they are exactly what you're looking for. And we want to make sure that we're listening to what you have to say. So we have a little a survey. I'm going to be emailing it to you when I send you the video recording and all the materials, but I'm going to drop it into Slack now. And I know that once workshops end and events end, it's really easy just to kind of go off into your day and not think about them anymore. So if you have a few minutes right now, just like 3 minutes or so, I would just feel so grateful if you could fill out that survey just while your mind is fresh and you're thinking about it, and then you can put it behind you. So I'm going to drop that into Slack in just a minute. But really, that's all we have. We're just really excited that we got to meet you. Again, we're going to hang out here for a few minutes if you have questions. But big thanks to all of you, and hope you'll stick around Slack because it's a great place to connect with more people doing this sort of work. And now that you have your worksheet, your strategy, and your intention, I'm excited for you to go forward and do awesome things. So big thanks to all of you, and we'll hang out. You're very welcome.
Thank you all so much. Have an awesome day ahead. I can't wait to see all the cool stuff you're going to post to social media over the next few months. It's going to be rad.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to post their social media accounts in Slack, like your Twitter page, LinkedIn, whatever you want to share, feel free to do that so we can all stay in touch. And yeah, anyone have questions? Feel free to ask if you do. We'll be here.
Brian, I have perhaps one question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned you're using After Effects. I have the program, but never use it. I use InDesign Premiere and Premiere Pro and Photoshop often. Any tips on it? Because I'm trying to create a video and I'm lacking footage, so I thought, let's be creative. How to start or what to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's a great question. So I use After Effects, Premiere, and then iMovie. So what I'll do is when I'm creating videos, I'll put everything together in iMovie or Animoto. So like I'll have, because that's just it's super straightforward. It's super easy to put everything, or like Premiere. So I'll put everything together. I'll get the whole video going. And then what I'll do is I'll use After Effects to then add on like maybe some graphics or some like word flows or like pop-ups on the screen. So I use After Effects when I'm creating video very lightly because creates huge video sizes and it's kind of a lot of work and it's time consuming. So I'll do a majority of the work in iMovie, which helps me cut down on time spent. And then I'll add little pop-ups. But the best part for me, and I didn't show this because we were kind of running out of time, but is using Adobe After Effects for Instagram stories. And so if you create a new project in After Effects at 1080 wide by 1920 tall, that is the size for Instagram stories. And I'll do like motion graphics or videos or slides in there, and I'll make them all less than 10 seconds. I'll export them to my desktop, and then I'll quickly airdrop them to my phone. And that's the cool part, is that anything you create, or like let's say, I'll airdrop on my phone and I'll share them. The other really cool part about After Effects is that you can create that 1080 by 1920, and you can actually use videos from your phone from the past. So like if you have a rectangular video or a picture video from your phone, you can send it to your computer, drop it in After Effects, and then just export it immediately, and it'll redo the timestamp so that you can then share it to Instagram stories, and you can add a little pop-up over it. So I use After Effects mainly for Instagram stories because it's super cool and unique, and I can also redo the timestamp on videos that I've taken in the past.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So iMovie is the starter for you.
Yes, iMovie is a starter, and it's where I put all the clips together because it's super easy. Add music, add a logo, export it, and then do all the work within After Effects or Premiere. And so like if I'm trying to create a square video, a custom square video that's outside of Animoto, what I'll do is put it together in iTunes or iMovie, knowing that I'm only going to be able to work with about the square middle part of the screen. Then I'll create a square portrait in either Premiere or After Effects and then drop the movie in, knowing that I can, like, you know what I mean? So I'll make the movie in iMovie knowing I can only work with the middle square.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Yeah, and then I'll export it as square.
Okay. Great tip. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Adobe's awesome. And it's cool now. Anybody who's curious about using Adobe is they now offer individual product subscriptions for like, I think $20 a month per product. So a little expensive, but doesn't, you know.
No, I can advise. It's really,
Yeah.
it's really the top on the market what I use for.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Any other questions from folks? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess it's a 2-in-1. It's about the podcast. Do you have anything coming up on clout and or like social media safety? Because when you're a personality out there, obviously you need to kind of be cognizant of best practices for perhaps not posting where you are when you're live there, like stuff like that.
So we don't have any resources on that currently, but that's actually a very interesting topic that we hadn't thought about before. So good idea for the topic. Thank you for the recommendation. As for the clout thing, that's interesting because it's funny because clout doesn't get talked about a lot, but it obviously is like a score of your personal brand strength. And so I wouldn't necessarily worry so much about the clout score itself, but I would do other things, build like, I guess, profiles on different social media channels, knowing that it all would affect the clout score, right? So like you want to make sure all of your LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook profiles are optimized and that you're engaging with a ton of people too. So like with Twitter, you can build your clout score, for example, on Twitter by like engaging with people, just responding to comments or like actively engaging with other Twitter accounts. So I think it's funny because clout bases it simply on how much interactions you get on your various social media accounts. So like that's where they really award you for being everywhere, right? So if you have every type of social media profile, clout will reward that, where I think that's a little dangerous because then because it kind of goes against a traditional thought of like being less in less places, right? So it's kind of like a catch-22 of, do I want my clout score to be high or do I want to have a really engaged community on like 3 platforms? You know what I mean? So you kind of got to like balance that. It's like being everywhere with like quality community.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off, but I'll see you guys at the chat tomorrow.
Yeah. See y'all.
Bye. Thank you very much for this.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you. See you at the chat. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
See ya.
They're talking about Buffer Chat if no one knows. That's our Twitter chat. Well, any last minute questions before we sign off?
Can I ask a quick one if it's okay?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just curious, Brian, you were talking about going from the top to the middle of the funnel. What do you do to refine the audience from the top to the middle?
Yeah, so great question. So actually, it's pretty simple, and it's all the way you do that is all through audience targeting. So when I'm targeting an audience to the top of the funnel, it's very interest based. It's like anyone 21 to 65 years old, if they have a pulse, like they can be targeted, right? When we move into the middle of the funnel, it really, really is important to have, a lot of times it's Facebook and having Facebook pixels set up. So like middle of the funnel might constitute a website visitor. So we might target a specific piece of content at anybody who's visited the Buffer blog within the last 60 days, because that's telling us that those people are interested in social media marketing, right? So like that's middle of the funnel. It's still not the perfect client or perfect prospect, but there is an interest. Or if they've been to buffer.com, or if maybe they've been to a specific webinar that we hosted, like that's why pixels are so important, because without them, you don't know who's on your website, right? Or you don't know who's like looked at your content before. And that's why UTMs are important as well. So you can use specific UTMs within Google Analytics to target AdWords, right? So you can, it's just important to have those pixels set up. And if you use a CRM like HubSpot or Marketo, like we were talking about, same thing. But that tracks all of their actions, like whether they open one of your emails, whether they visit your website, if they shared your content. So basic level for free tools using Facebook pixels and having Google Analytics up on your website. Next level, where it actually costs money to do it, is CRMs like HubSpot Marketo, Salesforce, and then integrating those with MailChimp, Facebook, your social media channels, pretty much everything. But going to that middle of the funnel is essentially just anybody who has heard or consumed a piece of your content in the past.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a great workshop.
Thanks. That means a lot.
Cool. All right, I guess we'll wrap things up since just two folks left. Well, hope you have a good, I guess it's the night for you, right, Tom? So
Yeah, it's coming up for 6 o'clock here, so dinner time.
Good. Have a good dinner.
Yeah, have a great dinner.
Yeah,
I'll talk.
have a good day.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.